Hello everyone, welcome back to JDCodebase. Today is day 23 of our LeetCode 75 study plan, and today's problem is G2352 equal rows and row and column pairs. So this problem looks tricky at first, but don't worry, we will solve it step by step in a very simple way. First, we will understand the brute force approach. Then we will optimize it using the HashMap, which is a preferred interview solution. So let's begin and read the problem statement first. Given a zero index and across an integer matrix grid, return the number of pairs R of I and column of j such that row Ri and column Cj are equal. A row and column pair is considered equal if they contain the same element in the same order, that is an equal array. So first, we are given a square matrix. So this, if you see example number 1, 3, 2, 1, 1, 7, 6, 2, 7, 7. This is a square matrix, which means same number of columns, same number of rows. Our task is to count how many pair exist where one row is exactly equal to one column. Equal means every element must match in the same order. For example, here if a row is 3, 2, 1 and a column is 3, 2, 1, so then that's count as one equal pair. But here if you see there is no, but for that 2, 7, 7, 2, 7, 7, so there is one equal row and column. Now answer output is the one here, and same applies for example number 2, 3, 1, 2, 2, 3, 1, 2, 2 is the same pair, and second one is the 2, 4, 2, 2, 2, 4, 2, 2, and same applies for 2, 4, 2, 2, 2, 4, 2, 2, and means three pairs are exist, row 0, column 0, row 2, second row, second column, third row, second column. So output here is 3. So we need to count total such pairs in a matrix. So easiest way to think is like first count the means collect all the rows in a separate, then build all the columns, then compare every row with every column. If they match, increase the count. That's a simple. So let me write the code first, then I will explain you what I write here. Let rows is equal to, I just make a new array called the rows by using this, and then let calls array a blank one, and a count value is the initialized with the 0. After that start a for loop. Let I equal to 0, I smaller than grid dot length I plus plus, and this for loop is for build all the columns. Means first let call is equal to a blank array, then start a for loop for let j equal to 0, j is smaller than grid of I dot length and j plus plus, and here we have to push call dot push grid of j of I, and after calls dot push this value. Now I have this calls array, then start a again new for loop for comparing each row and with each column, and for let I equal to 0, I smaller than rows dot length I plus plus, and a nested for loop for the columns. Let j equal to 0, j is smaller than calls dot length array and j plus plus, and if a match helper function I need, let's take a row and a column also. So I have right here the j, and if they are equal then count plus plus. So and else count return the count. So let's write a helper function also. If function match, let's take the row and a column, and start a for loop for let I equal to 0, I smaller than the row dot length I plus plus, and if row of I is not equal to column of I, then return false immediately, and after that write here the return true. So let me explain this, what I write this code, what I write here. So first we store all the rows. Let rows is equal to, I just use a separate this method, and I just make the rows column. Rows are already present in the grid, so it's easy. Now we need to create the columns manually. For that I build this loop. So this loop decide which column we are building. Then the external this for loop. Then inside this I just a temporary array for one column, and inside the second loop I push column or dot push grid of j of I. Now here notice carefully, normal rows are used grid of I of j, but here I write here the j of I because for that columns we swap the indexes that give us the vertical element. Then columns dot push call and store completed columns. Now compare every row and column here. Inside this for loop means first pick one row, and inside this pick one column here from this, and then if means match, that's a helper function. This is a helper function. It's take a single row, single column, and if they are equal, count plus plus. And inside this helper function, this simply check if every element, if row I is equal to column of I or not. If they are, then means they are not equal, then return the false. If loop completes, then return the true. That means both the errors are identical. Now let's analyze the time complexity here. This is a brute force solution, as you know. So here building the columns takes the big of n square, and comparing every row with every column, there are n square comparison, and so each comparison check for the n element also, so big of n cube time complexity. That is not great for the large input. And can we do better for this means time complexity? Yes, there is a way to optimize the solution. So for that, first convert every row into a string, store it in a hash map with the frequency, and then build each column and check whether same string exists in a map or not. Means this avoid the unnecessary comparison here, like first I start a nested for loop, and a nested to nested for loop means big of n cube. I am just comparing every row and column here also. So let's write the optimized solution here. Let me reset this, and first I have to declare the map is equal to new map, then let count equal to 0, and let n equal to grid dot length. So first I have to store all the rows in a map, and in a key value pair for let row of grid, let key equal to row dot join by the comma. Here I write the comma. This is a special meaning for here. Map dot set key is here the key, and the value I have to first I retrieve the map dot get this key by this key. If it has value, then use it, else use the 0 and +1 every time. Now let's build the I just make this a map that store the key value pair here. Now let's build the columns and check whether they exist in the map or not. For let column equal to 0, column c is smaller than n, and c++, not ti, c++, and first make it temporary column array, is equal to 0, row is smaller than n, and row plus plus. And now column dot push. Same pattern applies here, like in the last in the brute force approach we use grid of R of C, means the inner loop. First we swap the variable actually. Now let key is equal to column dot join with the comma. Then after that, if map dot has this key, then count plus equal to map dot get of key, and in last return the count. So let me explain you one time more. So here first I store the rows in a map by just key value here is the row dot join by comma, and convert array to string basically here, and means 3 to 1 is like 3 comma 2 comma 1 as a string format. So why? Because strings are easy to compare and store in a map. Now in here we store the frequency. If same row appear multiple times, count it. Then after that build each column. The same as before, I write column dot push grid this one row and column. So build the column array and convert it to string. So here key is the means again column dot join by comma, and check in a map. If map dot has this key, then the same row exists, and count plus map dot get of key, means add the frequency directly. No need to compare element by element, much faster, because every if this map has this key, then why to compare. Now building row map is here the big of n square, and building the columns also takes the big of n square here. And now HashMap lookup is the average, is the big of 1, and big of n square for huge improvement like big of n cube from the brute force approach. So final comparison here, the brute force approach is easy to understand, but time complexity is big of n cube, and it's good for learning. And optimized HashMap is slightly smarter. Time complexity here the big of n square, better for the interviews. And that is for today's problem. Today we learn how to compare rows and columns, how to build columns from a matrix, and how HashMap can optimize repeated comparison. If this explanation helped you, please like the video, subscribe to JDCodebase. I will see you next video.